Fight Live returns to Channel 5 this Friday. Two of Britain's most exciting super lightweights collide at London's legendary York Hall. Don't miss Eubank vs Farrell this Friday on Channel 5.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife and saying completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.
This is Joe Pugh for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Eddie, weigh-ins over and done. Get ready for fight night now?
Yeah, cracking fight, really good fight. I mean, Dillian Whyte looks in tremendous shape, coming nice and light. Jermaine Franklin's a big boy, but team are full of confidence. A little bit of argy-bargy yesterday. Dillian stepped to him, but ice cold from both. Ready to fight. I think we're going to get a really good heavyweight fight tomorrow night, and of course, the co-main event, which I think could be a fantastic fight for the British heavyweight title as well.
Did you want there to be a bit more argy-bargy today between Whyte and Franklin?
Always, but it's good because I think yesterday there was no argy-bargy in the whole build-up really, and just yesterday it was nice. It was a nice level. We've seen a lot lately where stuff kind of spills out onto the streets in the YouTube format, and I think we've just got to be a little bit careful because you can't let these boys spill out to the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise it will be game over. So everyone weighed in, healthy, happy, ready for a great card tomorrow night on DAZN.
Whyte come in with the England top and Franklin with the US top. Little narrative there with the boys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like I planned it. England v USA at 7 p.m. tonight, and at 10 o'clock tomorrow night at Wembley, the same thing. But buzzing for the whole card, and looking forward to seeing Dillian Whyte back in action.
We've spoke about how big the fight will be with Whyte Joshua in spring/summer, whether we want to go to a stadium or not. But what happens if he doesn't get the victory against Franklin and Franklin pulls off the upset?
Yeah, then Jermaine Franklin steps up to fight Anthony Joshua. I mean, that's what's on the line for Jermaine Franklin. He's got a chance to completely change his career, change his life, everything. For Dillian, he only wants to be involved in the big fights moving forward, and that therefore anything but a victory on Saturday night would be a disaster for him. Obviously, if he can win and look good doing it, he puts himself right in the frame for AJ, Wilder, all these big fights. So we're really excited to see him back. I think he's got a lot to give. I think he's got that edge about him. I think he's in tremendous shape, and I think he'll give us a great performance and a great fight tomorrow night.
Is that it for Dillian Whyte if he isn't victorious on Saturday?
I think it's always harsh. I mean, look, he could choose to box. There's 3 or 4 levels between him and domestic level. So you can always go and be involved in big fights, but not to the magnitude of what he wants. He wants another shot at the world heavyweight title. He wants to fight AJ. He wants to fight Wilder. He wants to fight all these guys. So a defeat would put him out of the running for those fights for now. So yeah, the only thing that's on his mind is winning.
Announced last night that Craig Richards is off the card. Shame, it could have been a fantastic fight against Bolotniks. But what next for Craig? And you've got to get him out soon.
I'd like to reschedule that fight. I just said to Bolotniks, it's a great fight. It's really horrible, Craig's trained so hard. He was so excited for this fight, as we all were. And then on Wednesday, we got a call from Peter Sims to say, look, he's got a little bit of a cold. He's a bit unwell. He's not going to come to the workout. It's like, okay, calm. And then that evening, he said, look, he may not be at the presser tomorrow. And then you start realising you're a couple of days away. Then he was okay, he was going to come to the presser, and then woke up Thursday morning feeling even worse. And it's like, it's so tempting for a fighter just to go, I'll be all right, I'll fight, have a couple of paracetamol and we'll get through it. But when you're fighting at that level, and as dangerous this sport is, you just can't go in there in a fight like that unless you're 100%, let alone 80%. So I'm gutted for Craig, but obviously we'll reschedule. It's not something that's going to keep him out for months and months. And look forward to making that fight. It's a really good fight.
Just on Ryan versus Sanchez, I was speaking to Clifton Mitchell last night, and if she gets the win on Saturday, there isn't really anywhere she can go apart from world titles, and they want that Chantel Cameron fight.
Yeah, I think the Sandy Ryan-Chantel Cameron fight is going to become a big fight. Sandy's got a little bit of the problem that Chantel had maybe a year or so ago, which was a very good fighter that hasn't quite got the profile to make that worth what it should do. But sooner or later, that fight's going to become big enough, and Chantel Cameron will fight anyone, and so will Sandy Ryan. And Chantel's not looking at Sandy Ryan yet, but as soon as that fight starts becoming big enough, it's a bit like Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron. Now that fight becomes big enough, it's a reality. And Sandy Ryan, we've got big plans for her. I think she's a tremendous fighter. I love what she's done. But I tell you, tomorrow night, she has a really tough fight. Really tough fight, the toughest of her career. But if she comes through, I think she's ready for a world title.
They want a fight in Derby next year. Could that potentially happen in the arena?
It's tough to go. I mean, an arena's fine. Obviously, you've got Pride Park there as well. But that's the dream for all these fighters, is to fight on big stadiums, and we've got a track record of delivering that.
What's going on with Leewood? Obviously, the WBA have now ordered it again.
Yeah, I've got to speak to Ben Davison, actually, who's over there. I spoke to PBC last night, talking about how we make this happen. Realistically, we wanted to move forward with a Josh Warrington unification if Josh Warrington wins on December 10th. So we're going to work it out with Ben. I would like to see Leewood fight in January. That's what we're working towards, and we'll have further news soon.
In 2023, how important is it to get all these featherweights fighting each other, whether it be in Santa Cruz or Warren?
It's important to get all champions fighting each other. You look at the flyweight division, we've really got a chance to do something special there with Julio Cesar Martinez, Bam Rodriguez, Sonny Edwards, Delakian. We should be trying to move forward and make those big fights, trying to unify every division like we're seeing in women's boxing as well. Whenever there's a chance for a unified or undisputed fight, let's try and make it happen.
Next week then, Estrada Chocolatito 3, a massive trilogy fight. Both of them have delivered, and you're going into the final one.
Yeah, it's I promoted the second fight, very lucky to do so. The first fight was incredible, sold a huge amount of tickets in Phoenix next week. It's an unbelievable undercard as well. It's one of the fights of the year, it's one of the fights of the decade so far. It's one of the fights of our generation, really, and can't wait to see two great fighters, two warriors go at it in Phoenix next week.
You move into Warrington on the 10th, and then you're kind of taking your Christmas break. There was a rumour that you going on the 17th. You're not doing that now. When will we start seeing the early shows of 2023 being announced?
Our first show will be in January, probably January the 28th, but we're planning that schedule now. I think we're going to be in a position to announce our full schedule up until maybe even March by the Josh Warrington fight. So all the conversations, we've got a meeting this afternoon to go through the global schedule. It's not just as easy as saying what's the fight in the UK, it's what's the first fight in Australia, America, Italy, Spain, Mexico, UK, every territory that we work in, the Middle East. So it's very complicated putting that together. We're deep into that at the moment, and there'll be an announcement soon.
Will there be a UK show in January on the Matchroom point of view?
Yes, 100%.
One that's already been announced yesterday then is 21st of Jan, Manchester. Smith Eubank, fantastic fight. It's received some backlash about being on pay-per-view, so what's your opinions on that?
Look, I've seen all the criticism about it being pay-per-view. I've been there. I also know what both fighters are getting paid roundabout. You can't do it without doing it pay-per-view, so you have to put it on pay-per-view and hope that it hits the numbers. I think it's a really good fight. Those sort of fringe pay-per-view fights always get criticism. It's also January. Like we had the conversation yesterday, it's tough at the moment. Pay-per-views, ticket sales, everything. It's a tough time for the paying public. But at the same time, to pay those guys what they are asking for, pay-per-view is the only way to make that happen. So it's down to the numbers, how many buys it does.
They want to make Taylor Catterall 2 for the early parts of February as well, and that could be pay-per-view. So could it be a tricky situation where there's two pay-per-view in 3 weeks?
You could have two pay-per-views in 2 or 3 weeks, and that's never ideal. I think I've probably done one pay-per-view in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It's very difficult, and you get a lot of criticism for it. But also at the same time, same thing, But the pay-per-view numbers will determine whether there's the fighters are getting paid the right amount of money, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be increasingly difficult to drive pay-per-view numbers unless you've got the big fight. In this market at the moment, with everything that's going on in the world, the big fights will always sell. The ones that you think, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't, maybe I'll buy it, maybe I won't, they're the ones that are going to get hit hard in this economy. So you have to continue to try and give as much value as you can to fight fans.
Two more. It's been a couple of weeks since Abu Dhabi now. It's all died down. Have you spoke to the guys over there, and do you think you'll carry on a working relationship?
Yeah, we was there recently for the Formula One. It was an incredible experience. They're very happy with their first show. They dipped the toes in the water at a pretty deep level, but now their plans are very extensive to grow the sport. So we've been speaking with the DCT. We had a meeting with them recently, already planning our next fight, which looks like March. And also beyond that as well, mapping out the year with DCT, and Abu Dhabi is going to be very important to us. We love the place there. We love the team that we're working with DCT. They're a great bunch of people with tremendous vision, and we're very lucky to be involved with them.
Tyson Fury Chisora next week then. It could be the last time we speak to you before that fight. just going into it, how much chance do you give Derek Chisora?
Oh, look, Derek will always try and win that fight. You know, on paper and the quality of Tyson Fury, yes, it's a very difficult fight for him, but he's got a huge heart. We're behind him all the way, and never count him out.
I know you'll probably be at Chocolatito Estrada 3, but will there be anyone from Matchroom there?
Yeah, for sure. We love Derek. Derek's a part of the family. He's got a tremendous heart. He's a really good man. He's tough as nails. He'll always keep trying, and we're behind him all the way.
You won't be there because John Fury said he'll bend you over and slap your bum, won't he?
Nothing to do with Estrada Chocolatito, but I quite like him smack my bum, be quite nice, but probably just take his shirt off and say, hold me back instead. I'm only joking, by the way, just in case you choose me.
Well, that's the title right there, don't you? Finally then, why should everyone tune in for Dillian Whyte versus Jermaine Franklin tomorrow night on DAZN?
Because it's a very big fight for the heavyweight division. You've got Dillian Whyte, who, his big-time career's on the line here, coming off the Tyson Fury fight against a young, undefeated American who's very, very talented. Unbelievable card. Fabio Wardley against Nathan Gorman. Great fight. Sandy Ryan's in really deep. Pat McCormack, Mark Dickinson and Chef Clark. Look out for those guys because they're the future of British boxing. George Liddard making his debut as well. Thomas Carty and others as well. It's going to be a great night of boxing live on DAZN. Don't miss it. And you need to subscribe. You subscribe now, you're going to get, of course, the fight on Saturday night. You're going to get Estrada Chocolatito. You're going to get Josh Warrington in Leeds. Plenty of other content as well. It's the best value in boxing.
Cheers, Eddie.
Fight Live returns to Channel 5 this Friday. Two of Britain's most exciting super lightweights collide at London's legendary York Hall. Don't miss Eubank versus Farrell this Friday on Channel 5.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife for saying completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.